Welcome back to the South Oroville Railroad. This is layout update number 2. What we're looking at is the cork roadbed and the siding track, which has been laid for the Oroville Depot. This is on the west end. It still got another 3 feet or so before it reaches the west end switch. The siding's about 12 feet long. The main's not laid yet. The siding, we're headed basically east. And the siding runs down here, all the way down and farther down until it comes to the east end switch down here, which is all the way down there. Well, here we are coming eastbound to number 6 switch at the east end of that siding at Oroville Station. And then it swings around. The track will disappear under the layout and start to enter the staging area, which swings all the way around here. Okay, that's the switch that goes up to a track that will climb up into a Y out of the setup yard. The main line then continues down, enters the yard proper. This setup yard is designed that the trains come in and take that first track there that's on the left hand side of the screen, and then that track comes down and around the actual ladders for the setup yard. Let's see if we can get this in here. This track on the very bottom of the screen coming out of that left hand or right hand switch is the programming track, and it will have a re-railer to help put on locomotives and cars, and so it's basically a setup track. There'll be a program to be able to program your DCC trains here. The railroad is going to be using DCC. I'm using an EasyDCC system. These switches here we're looking at are all micro-engineering. I happened to get a deal on 10 of them, and then they had to be reworked a wee bit because the geometry of the yard ladder here required 9 inches between throw bars, so they had to be cut down quite a bit, which made it fun. Each frog has been dropped down already. I don't have any real wiring set up. I have the DCC system. I just have not started to wire anything. The tracks then continue. Transformers for the test train. Everything's temporary. And it continues and continues. It continues all the way down, and curves around to the other end. Okay, we're down where the yard begins to turn. There are 8 leads in the setup yard. The switches are set. The yard is a diamond yard, so the leads are all the same. They were originally designed for 20-foot leads. They're going to be maybe a hair shorter than the design, but they'll still hold probably 40 cars. And the railroad here is a transition railroad. It's at this point, I'm going between 1940 and 1960. I haven't really set a hard date or day for the railroad yet, but it will be in transition era. The railroad is not prototypical. It is a freelance short line that is connecting Southern Pacific with the Western Pacific in the area here where I live, which is in Oroville, California. So far, I've got a little over 200 feet of track laid in this yard and leads on either side of it. It swings around here. The track on the bottom of the frame is the incoming track. It actually goes into a reversing loop. Comes down onto a peninsula. Take the zoom the correct way here to make it easier. And of course, I'm working on this end of the yard, fitting the switches in. I have found that is a real thrill. You can begin a yard, that's fairly easy. Come off the switches and everything works great. Trying to get everything to line up the other end can be an interesting challenge. The track on the bottom is the reversing loop. Goes down around on the peninsula. Kicks around all the way down there, and of course comes back around, enters the throat of the yard here, a ladder. The basic idea is that you'll be able to run a train in and put some thought into the staging. There's two yards, there's two interchange yards. There's a large yard off the Western Pacific Main, which is in the South Oroville main yard, which will be up on a deck, next deck up. Over this track at this end is the Tehama yard, which is just basically a smaller interchange yard with Southern Pacific at Tehama. Basically, the license with history was that the Southern Pacific built the line up the valley out of Davis to Tehama, but this railroad was in here soon enough that it was servicing Oroville, Chico, and had tied in Western Pacific. In the fictional railroad here, we service Oroville, going through the mountains, service Chico, some of the areas that the Butte County Railroad used to service. Sterling City, Magalia, Paradise, a couple places in between for logging, because there's a lot of logging going on. Sterling City had a large diamond match company up there. They had their own narrow gauge lines, or actually I wasn't sure if they're narrow gauge, they were logging railroads. Most equipment I did see, what reference I've dug up, most of it was standard gauge, surprisingly. And here is the east end of the yard. The other end, like I said, I had 10 microengineering number 6 hands, number 6 switches. And these are Fasttracks number 6s. I went ahead and purchased the jig, and I've been building my own switches now. The savings are immense. I am using the tie plates that they are selling. I'm thinking about building a jig so I can use just standard wood ties, be able to jig it out, lay it down, and put the frame on it, spike it down. But the quick sticks do work very well. They are easy to use. Actually, building the switches are not as bad as you'd think. It teaches you a lot about switches. Another thing some of you guys know, it's my friends on Facebook and guys I model with to track the railroad. I'm legally blind. My vision is only 2200. I have to use a special, I use a set of glasses with a 4-power magnifier basically installed on it, which allows me to do this type of work. I do know you can build one of these switches in about 35-45 minutes if you've played with it a bit. It takes me about 4 hours to build one. That's just because of my depth perception's bad. And doing the work's not too bad. It's getting the soldering done. If you haven't checked out Fasttrack, I would check them out. They have a lot of nice templates if you're designing or trying to lay something out on a railroad. The videos are very instructional, especially if you're trying to hand build your own switches. They explain how to use the NMRA gauge very well. Shows you what everything does, why it does it, how it does it. It's very informative. Very interesting website. So I'd definitely check them out. So this series of switches, there's 7 switches here. They are not going to be 9 inches apart. They're almost full length. They are having to be shortened a little. As you can see, there's multiple alignment lines down here. I'm following the one black line that's on the right. The first black line on the left was what was supposedly designed and laid out using the walls. Except when we tried to do it, the switches were going to be impossible to make it work. The switches would have had to been like 6 inches long, and there's no way to do it. The second red line was a stab at it, but they were getting too far, still having to crowd too much. And then of course the last one, it fit the way the tracks were lined. They're not truly, if you look down this one, they're really not at 6:1 at this end. There is a small curve, which is almost hard to see. This track in that little piece that's fitted in there has a slight curve to it. It's very little. That's the problem with laying a yard at 6:1. And then your switches and your leads, it eats so much up. By playing with a little bit, shortening the switch, I was able to save virtually 3 feet in each of the leads. Well, thanks for watching this. I will throw on a clip of the test train running through this switch in front of us, because I do have some people that want to see an actual train run on this, since it's been 2 years of work to get to this point. So I will run a train on the end of this clip, show everybody that yes, it does work. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll have an update sooner than 2 years, as I am now working on it fairly consistently. Keep after it here. So I'll show when I get some more work done, and probably the siding, get the Oroville depot sidings and all that mounted. Show that work being done. I'll show the finish up work here when it gets done on this end of the yard ladder, so you can see how that turns out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments. Good, bad, like it, subscribe, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, thanks for watching.